Hello, hi viewers. Welcome to my channel Ravi's Eye View. In my earlier episode, I was talking about the chat GPT. Of course, that's in a vernacular medium which I recorded in Tamil, which is shaking the world, rather shaken the world. Now, artificial intelligence, Bill Gates, who spoke pretty high about it, it's not going to be metaverse or it's not going to be 3.0, it's going to be artificial intelligence everywhere, which is going to make loads and loads of technological advantages to us, true to that. Now, a funny episode which has happened in the past few days, there is a viral video of Bill Gates himself is appearing on an interview where the interviewer were asking some uncomfortable question to Bill Gates and abruptly ends the interview. About 85 million videos of such particular interview was circulated across the globe and people had a bit of a fun. But here is the bad news. It's not a real interview at all. It's an interview which was created by artificial intelligence driven language module which studies a human behavior absolutely accurately and using the artificial intelligence technology. It's called deepfake, which is created so-called few minutes video of Bill Gates facing ABC.
So, Mr. Gates, in your own words, what have you contributed to the world?
I'm not sure if you're aware, but I created the world's most popular computer operating system.
No, of course. But as we all know, it wasn't actually you who created it. As a matter of fact, the predecessor of Windows, MS-DOS, was created by Gary Kildall, which you then basically stole from him for a couple of dollars.
It's not just development. There's a whole lot of important factors to running an enormously successful company like Microsoft.
So then let's leave the computer world for a moment. You have been a major spokesperson for COVID vaccines during the pandemic.
Yes.
What exactly makes you, a computer engineer who didn't even program his initial product himself, a valid representative of the pharmaceutical industry?
I have read a lot of books about that topic.
Yes, but how does that?
Wait a second. And met with specialists from the field all over the world.
Mr. Gates, with all due respect, how do you feel about it now? Now that it's becoming more and more evident that the medication you were promoting, whilst having heavily invested in it yourself, thus making billions of it,
This is not how the world works.
has caused countless injuries, side effects and death.
That's a very immature way of looking at it, quite frankly.
So here's my final question to you. Is this a behavioral pattern?
What do you mean exactly?
Taking technology from other people that you don't understand, selling a product full of bugs, causing massive damage and profiting from it in a spectacular way.
No. This is not how the world works.
Can you sleep at night?
Okay, that's enough. This interview is over. Thank you.
Now, you can see the video which I posted. You can have a look at the fake video which is created by deepfake, and subsequently ABC Australia has posted the real video in its site, which I'm also reproducing in my video, which you can see.
Bill Gates, welcome to 7:30.
Thank you.
Let's start with climate change. You've said recently that the world's not going to reach its agreed targets of 1.5 degrees or even 2 degrees of warming. Should we be preparing for unstoppable climate change?
Well, we can certainly reduce emissions to zero. In the meantime, while we do those reductions, which is called climate mitigation, we also have to do climate adaptation. Sadly, the poor countries in the equatorial zones are the most affected. Most of the people there are farmers with small pieces of land who won't be able to have the crop output they have today. So we'll have to adapt while we do our very, very best to bring emissions to zero as fast as we can.
Now, at the beginning of your visit to Australia, you had a meeting with the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. Did you talk to him about the role that Australia could play as a leader in climate change on the world stage?
Certainly, I've had a lot of talks. Your climate minister was in the US. I met a few months ago talking about some of the innovations. My Breakthrough Energy group has been down here quite a bit. We just announced investment in a company, Ruminate, that works to reduce cow-based emissions. So yes, Australia has a huge role to play. It's very lucky in terms of it'll have some of the cheapest renewable energy in the world.
Do you think Australia can be the kind of leader it wants to be on the world stage when it continues to be such a large exporter of fossil fuels?
Well, I think Australia will be able to export green hydrogen and other clean products. And so it's certainly a country where the opportunity in a green economy is as greater than it has been in the past.
Now, you've also made a very big investment in next generation nuclear power, so-called natrium plants. Just briefly, can you explain how these are better than the old style nuclear plants?
Well, nuclear fission ended up being so expensive that the electricity just wasn't competitive with, particularly in places like Australia and the US, natural gas generated electricity. So the question is there a design that could be dramatically safer but also far less expensive? That's the dream that a company I back is pursuing.
Now, should Australia be rethinking its policy on nuclear energy?
Well, Australia doesn't.
While on the subject, I'm also going to cover a bit about the so-called sentient lambda, the Google engineer, rather the Google senior engineer, who has claimed lambda, the language module from Google, has become sentient. When I say sentient, it almost started having a feeling like human beings and started reacting like a human. In one of my earlier episodes, I've covered in depth about that, but in this episode, I'm going to talk about the senior engineer who is expressing his concern about the ethical artificial intelligence which has come into live among us.
Hundreds of researchers and engineers have conversed with Lambda. They were not aware of anyone else making these kind of wide-ranging assertions the way that you have. We do have some of the transcripts that you shared. You asked the computer what it's afraid of. It says it's afraid of being turned off, has this deep fear of death, that would be scary. Why does this matter? Why should we be talking about whether a robot has rights?
So to be honest, I don't think we should. I don't think that should be the focus. The fact is, Google is being dismissive of these concerns the exact same way they have been dismissive of every other ethical concern AI ethicists have raised. I don't think we need to be spending all of our time figuring out whether I'm right about it being a person. We need to start figuring out why Google doesn't care about AI ethics in any kind of meaningful way. Why does it keep firing AI ethicists each time we bring up issues?
Now, artificial intelligence is surrounded all of us human beings. It's there in the smartphone which you're using. It's there in the smart TVs which you're using. It's there in the computer which you're using. It's there in your everyday life. Added to that, ChatGPT-like language module has created a tremendous amount of mundane tasks which can be automated. Added to the robotic process automation, now we have a deep fake. Now, my only concern before I conclude this video is, if deep fake has come into play role in our lives, just imagine what will happen. It can keep on churning out videos on celebrities, political leaders who can be seen as a villain for the masses. They can talk something against a religion. They can talk something about science. They can talk something against the humanity. The days are not longer. Artificial intelligence, if it's not ethically handled, if it's not carefully handled, can ruin a whole generation and start creating misunderstanding between masses, between countries, between ethnicities, religion, and the likes. Be aware of this fact. Don't believe in fake news, which is created by deepfake. Thank you so much for watching Ravi's iView, my own channel. If you like my content, like them, share, comment, as well as subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Signing off, Ravi Venkatraman.